Take two, in terms of doing the review, looking at the last 5 games from yesterday action. So back in take number one, after I finish recording my review, and I go check on my video, for whatever reason, it says the video file was corrupted. Now, I'm not quite sure is it corrupted because of the new webcam that I bought this morning. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, the video quality is much better compared to my previous video or any of the video on my channel. And that is because I've just got a new webcam this morning, and I'm finally able to do so because I've been kind of procrastinating these last couple of months of finally getting a new webcam, but I never got to it. And then this morning I just decided that, you know what, maybe today is finally the day. I am going to upgrade my webcam and get a new one that has better quality. And indeed, that of course is the case. But like I said, after when I finish recording the second take, I'm going to check whether or not if the video file is corrupted or not. And if it is still corrupted, then most likely I'm gonna think that it is because of my webcam. I'll probably have to return it tomorrow morning. But that being said, let us actually now get into these 5 games where we have 4 games that are Western Conference game and 1 that is an Eastern Conference matchup. Because remember, yesterday, all 6 of the games, well, actually 5 of the 6 games were Eastern Conference match, and then we of course have that 1 interconference matchup between the New England Revolution versus the Colorado Rapids. But to finish off the last game that we're going to talk about, that is an Eastern Conference matchup from this Wednesday action, is NYCFC versus the Chicago Fire, and in the end, NYCFC, though they weren't as clinical as they were in the last game and pretty much just put up a 6 spot against DC United, they were still able to be just clinical enough to get all 3 points against the Fire and win 1-0 in this one. Early on, they were on the front foot. And then in the 7th minute, Alfredo Morales did have a chance to get the opening goal, but he puts it wide from close range. Then on the other end, Fabian Herbert puts it wide from 18 yards out before Johnson was able to deny Fabian Herbert just 5 minutes later. Then Thiago tried to do a little cheeky back heel, and that would have been a lovely goal if it wasn't for the post getting in the way. Before Thiago had another chance in the 32nd minute, but he hits that one in the side netting, and NYCFC was definitely pressing for the opener, and they thought they got the opening goal in the 33rd minute, or at least Maxi Morales thought that he got himself the opening goal, as he was able to put the ball into the back of the net, but unfortunately, the offside flag immediately raised there. Now, when I look on that replay, it is very, very close that Maxi Morales was just in an offside position. But because of the fact that it was called offside originally, even if they go to VAR, I don't think that when they show the replay of that is definitive enough to overturn that call. So in the end, I think it was the right call. The fact that is offside, even though it was very, very close. But in the 40th minute, Navarro did try to give the Fire the lead before halftime, but he hits one high on the volley, and we head to halftime 0-0 between both of these teams. Now in the second half, the Post denied Keaton Parks from long range in the 49th minute, before in the 50th minute, NYCFC finally had the opportunity to get the opening goal because a penalty was given to NYCFC after Navarro brought down Amundsen in the box, which Tati Castellanos was able to step up and coolly puts that one away to give NYCFC the 1-0 lead. And it could have been 2-0 just 5 minutes later, but Sanania was able to deny Maxi Morales from 17 yards out. Rodriguez then puts one straight to Solania in the 67th minute as NYCFC was looking to try to kill this game off. But then, as the game winds down with Chicago pushing for that late equalizer, they almost got one in the first minute of stoppage time when Stojanovic had a header that goes straight to Sean Johnson. But in the end, the host NYCFC was able to survive and get the 1-0 win. As the shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 9 that the Fire has, 4 shots on goal compared to 5 that the Fire has, 4 shots off target compared to 9 that NYCFC has, 6 shots that was blocked compared to none that the Fire has, and possession-wise, the Fire actually had the better of the possession, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that NYCFC had, and it's not often that NYCFC get outpossessed, considered they're a team that always tends to dominate possession, especially at home. But doesn't really matter in the end because they got a massive 3 points where now they are 4 points above the red line. And even though there are going to be teams below them that have a game in hand and actually have less than a 4-point gap between both of these or between them and those teams that have game in hand and could potentially pass them if those teams win their game in hand. in the next midweek action. At least NYCFC know that they're 4 points above the red line, and the first team that is above the red line and just make it to the playoffs, DC United, plays the same amount of games that NYCFC has. So yeah, their chances of making the playoffs have definitely took a huge boost. And even though I know NYCFC fans don't really care, and the fact that they just want to get into the playoffs and see how the performance of this team is going to be, or is this going to be another year where they're going to choke once again in the playoffs, which seems like it's likely the case, because when you look at this team, I still don't think they're considered a contender in the Eastern Conference. But consider a couple of weeks ago when this team was looking like they were in a free fall and basically had that 6-game winless run and they couldn't score a goal for a very long time. It has to be very refreshing that they were able to bounce back and now are in a prime position where I believe they can win the next game, then they have officially clinched a playoff spot and heading to the playoffs once again. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is FC Dallas versus RSL, and what a win this was for RSL, and in many ways a needed win for them, considering the fact that they are finding themselves below the red line, and even though they do have that game in hand, they could not afford to lose this game against FC Dallas to maybe now fall 4 points below the red line, and that game in hand wouldn't have mattered because they would still be points below the red line. But in the end, they were able to get the win in this one, though early on it definitely did not look like it was the case, because this again was the second game in a row where I thought RSL kind of came out of the game flat, and FC Dallas was just all over RSL in the first half. Ochoa was able to deny Fiera in the 14th minute before Dallas did get the opening goal, as Matt Hedges scores from Justin Shade to give Dallas the 1-0 lead. Now, there was definitely a question of whether or not if Matt Hedges actually stayed on side, and I did watch the highlights of this on the league's YouTube channel, and unfortunately they only show me one angle of that potential offside call, and when I saw that one angle, it definitely looked like Matt Hedges was in an offside position. But maybe I'm guessing the other angle might show that maybe Hedges just stay in an onside position. By the way, Dallas was able to or Dallas wouldn't care if it indeed was offside, because they have now leads at 1-0 in this one. And it could have been 2-0 if it wasn't for Obrian puts it wide from 12 yards down the 25th minute. They were all over RSL early in this one, and they thought they finally got that second goal in the 26th minute as Fiera was able to put the ball into the back of net, but unfortunately the goal was disallowed for offside, and this time it was pretty clear that Jesus Fiera was in an offside position, because you can see as the ball was coming in, he was just a step and a half in an offside position, and the goal was chopped off. But Shun then in the 29th minute had a chance for the second goal, but he puts it over the bar before Ochoa was able to deny Obrian in the 30th minute. I thought David Ochoa really had a good game in this, and in some way is kind of the reason why RSL had a chance to potentially win this one, because again, RSL was just under siege pretty much throughout the entire first half. In fact, in terms of the shots through 35 minutes, it was 14-1 in favor of Dallas. I mean, it was just a total domination that Dallas had in that first 35 minutes. But then in the 36th minute, it looked like RSL was trying to maybe score against the run of play, but unfortunately Krylak just put a weak shot right to Jimmy Maurer, and that was really the first chance that RSL has had in the entire game. And we do head to have time with Dallas leading 1-0 in this game. And, even with Dallas leading 1-0 in this game and after having a dominant half, you just wonder, is this going to be deja vu all over again? Where, remember early this season when both of these teams faced off at Toyota Park and Dallas was pretty much peppering that RSL net, and they weren't being very clinical for most part of it, and end up having to settle for a 2-2 draw, and you just kind of had a feeling, is this maybe going to be that kind of game again? And especially that kind of emphasized in the second half, because in the second half, the momentum all of a sudden swing right to RSL, as in the 63rd minute, Maurer was able to deny Michael Chan there in that chance before he had to deny Menendez, and had to kind of push that one onto the post to make the save there. But again, RSL, who in the first half was just getting under siege, all of a sudden in the second half, it seems like the script kind of flipped them. And I think most likely the reason why they started to kind of show some urgency is that they know that, yeah, if they lose this game, then they could potentially be in serious trouble of not making the playoffs. So they were really pressing to try to get that equalizer. Krylak had a chance to do so in the 76th minute, but unfortunately he struck the post from 20 yards out before Nick Beasler flicked one over the bar in the 77th minute. But then in the 80th minute, they finally got the equalizer that they were so looking for in the second half, and it is none other than Damir Krylak scoring from just the Miram to tie the game up at one apiece. I believe that's now 15 goals for Damir Krylak. What a comeback season for him, consider of the season he had last year, where last year it was just such a disappointing year that he had, where he just could not find a way to score goals like he always do for this RSL team. But in the 81st minute, Fiera puts it over the bar on a volley as Dallas was looking to try to respond quickly. And in fact, the momentum once again was swing right back to FC Dallas. So there was some really weird momentum swing where just as you think that one team has all the momentum, all of a sudden the momentum switched back to the other team. And just as you thought the other team has the momentum, it basically switched back to the other team. And it just feels like, just as you thought that RSL has that momentum to get that second goal, the momentum was just snapped right back to Dallas because they were really keen to play the spoiler role and try to spoil RSL chances of making the playoffs. And in some way, they probably should score that second goal in the 84th minute as Riccardi basically was just wide open from 10 yards out. And the fact that he wasn't able to put that one on target pretty much just sums up the finishing that Dallas had throughout this game. But nevertheless, they were trying to not actually push to get one back, but actually trying to take the lead back in this game. But then in the 90th minute, RSL was able to score against the run of play. And it's Rusnak, the one that scored from just the Miram to give RSL the 2-1 lead. And that what turns out to be the final score of this game. As the shots in this one, Dallas dominate the shots with 23 shots compared to 15 that RSL had. But when you look at the shots on goal, both teams was even at 6 apiece. And again, another example of why even if you are dominant in terms of the shots on goal is what is very important. Because if you're putting a lot of those shots and most of them aren't on target, then something tells me you're basically kind of shooting from everywhere, and or the fact that you're just not being very clinical in terms of your finishing. In fact, they end up having 11 shots off target for the 6 that RSL had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 3 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that FC Dallas had. But like I said, for RSL, this is a massive win for them to have their hope to have their chances to make the playoffs, because now they actually are able to find themselves back above the red line, and they also have that game in hand where if they do win that game in hand, they could even rise higher into the standings and even maybe get themselves back into the picture where they could actually get that fourth spot. Where remember a couple of weeks ago when RSL was in a good position to get that fourth spot after the Timbers was started to kind of crumble a little bit. Well, now it seems like they could potentially do so if they can, of course, win that game in hand. But overall, this is a huge win for them, considered this is a team that has not done well on the road, and road wins has been very scary for RSL this season. So to get one this late in the season to improve their playoff chances has to be a massive victory for them. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Sporting KC versus the Galaxy. So for the Galaxy, they were also kind of in a similar position as RSL does, where they had to win to keep pace with the team that they're fighting for playoff position. But unfortunately, unlike RSL, they did not get all three points. In fact, they didn't even get anything out of this point, as in the end, Sporting KC was able to win 2-0 in this game. And early on, it looked like they really want this win so that they can get themselves tied with Seattle for that top spot. As just 30 seconds in, Ilić struck the post there before Koulibaly had to clear Shelton shots off the line in the 4th minute, and Sporting KC was already trying to press for the opener. And while it definitely took a little long for them to eventually get the opener, they did so in the 40th minute, as Johnny Russell, probably one of the hottest player in this league, as he scores here from Kinda to make it 1-0 for Sporting KC. In fact, just to prove how hot he is, John Champion even mentioned the fact that that's his 8th consecutive game that he have at least scored one goal for the Sporting KC team. And it is very important for Sporting KC to see how Johnny Russell has stepped up, because considering the fact that, coming into this game still without Daniel Showery and Alan Pulido, they really need a guy like Johnny Russell to step up, and he has definitely stepped up in a big way too. But we do head to halftime 1-0 in favor of Sporting KC. And in the second half, they were pushing to try to get that second goal, but first it was a half-hearted shout for a penalty for SKC that was not given. Then Kinda puts one over the bar in the 51st minute before Johnny Russell just missed wide from close range as SKC was pushing for a second goal. But then on the other end, Cabral had an opportunity to score against the run of play, but he blazed that one into the stands. And this is kind of what I wrote. Yeah, despite the fact that Sporting KC has been the better team, they got to be careful the fact that this is still only a 1-0 lead, and that we've seen so many times when teams are dominating and they only have that 1-0 lead, it doesn't take much for them to concede and the other team to kind of put a sucker punch of a goal. And that, in many ways, for Sporting KC, they were trying to not replicate what FC Dallas did earlier, where I talked about Dallas has all the opportunity, but because of the fact that they weren't able to kill the game off and had that 1-0 lead for a very long time and allow RSL to get back in the game, I thought this was kind of the same case for the Galaxy, because in fact I thought the Galaxy late in the game, they kind of started to know the urgency that I think they maybe kind of saw the score that RSL was going to get a big win, and that they know that they had to at least get something out of this game. So they started to really kind of press to try to get the equalizer, but they just could not really create a lot of chances out of that. And a lot of that I think you have to give credit to the Sporting KC backline that was really good in this game. But another reason why I think maybe the Galaxy weren't very good in terms of the final ball or even creating any chances is because they don't have Chicharito. I mean, they really missed Chicharito in this game, and if he was in this game, I think he would have definitely provided a much more big threat for this Galaxy team. But nevertheless, as I mentioned with Sporting KC, of how I wrote that they got to be careful, knowing the fact that it's only a 1-0 lead, and that they can't let this game hold just to be 1-0 and without killing it off. Well, they kind of heard that message, and I think Johnny Russell kind of heard that message, because in the 82nd minute, he made sure that this game was all done as he scored once again from Gadi Kinda to make it 2-0 in favor of Sporting KC. Pushkin then robbed Cabral, who had a big opportunity from 4 yards out there, but that one was just hit right into Pushkin. And even though that big chance for the Galaxy didn't really matter in the way, because I still don't think that even if they get that goal back, they can maybe miraculously get 2 in stoppage time and salvage a point. That was still a big save for Pushcam, who of course is coming into this game for Tim Melia, who, by the way, if you guys haven't heard, he was handed a 1-game suspension because of that WWE move that he made on Christian Roldan. And by the way, Sporting KC kind of trolled the Sounders, and kind of maybe even trolled MLS in a way, where one of the goal that they score, I think they kind of did like a WWE move just to kind of reminiscent of the move that Melia did to Christian Roldan in the last game. But yeah, I'm not really going to go too deep into talking about that, because I already mentioned of how, yeah, it's unfortunate that of course happened, and it's unfortunate that the red card maybe should have been given, but at least he was suspended. He was rightfully suspended for 1 game. And John Pushkin had to come into this one, and I thought he didn't really have a lot to do in this game because of the fact that the Galaxy didn't really create a lot of chances. But like I said, in that moment he had to make a big save to preserve the clean sheet. And in the end, Sporting KC was able to win 2-0 in this one, as the shots in this one, 10 shots on goal compared to 9 that the Galaxy had. Both teams had 2 shots on goal, 5 shots off target for the 3 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Galaxy had, and both teams had 50% possession each in this game. But now moving on in terms of the next match. And that, of course, is the Vancouver Whitecaps versus Minnesota in the ultimate 6-pointer in the playoff position. And especially after when this game was over, and knowing the fact that I think both of these teams probably saw this one, and knowing that RSL got that massive 3 points, it just made the implication of this being a playoff 6-pointer even much more important. In fact, I don't know if there's such a thing called a playoff 9-pointer, but this felt like it was a playoff 9-pointer with the way that I even said before in the preview. Whoever wins this game is most likely going to make the playoffs, and because the Whitecaps win this game, I really think that they are most likely going to make the playoffs. And when you look at also their recent form, it's pretty much justified that this team is not only showing their resiliency, but this team is definitely fighting to try to get themselves in the playoffs for the first time since 2016. But early on in the first half, or actually not 2016, I'm sorry, but 2017 was the last time they made it to the playoffs. But in the first half, 6 minutes in, Owusu did tag one from long range, but that one puts wide. I thought the Loons precariously decided to try to play a high line early, and I immediately wrote not good there, because why in the world did they decide to play a high line against a Whitecaps team that is known for their counter attack and known for a lot of their speedy players to kind of run behind a high line? So yeah, it was very surprising that Adrian Heath decided to set up his team like that, but fortunately it didn't really kind of call him there. And I thought eventually the Loons did kind of learn their mistake and decide to kind of drop their lines a little bit lower, considering they were really exposing themselves in the counter attack. But in the 10th minute, Reynoso have the Loons their first chance, but he puts it over from close range. There was a shout for a penalty for Vancouver that was not given before Brown heads it into the side netting in the 16th minute. And I thought early on it was a very open start in the first half, though it wouldn't last, as things did kind of eventually get a little bit tight. But before that, Lur had a chance in the 17th minute, but he puts it wide from 18 yards out before Reynoso puts it wide from 17 yards out in the 27th minute. Reynoso, again, had tons of chances in this game, and I know he's a guy that is known more for his creative ability than his finishing, but it's just so frustrating to see Reynoso kind of wasting these chances. And also, I would also say that it's kind of so frustrating once again seeing this Minnesota team wasting many opportunity when they could have had a chance to go up 1-0 and really get themselves in good position in this playoff 6-pointer. In the 27th minute, actually I already mentioned that. But after that chances, as I mentioned, things did eventually kind of calm down a little bit, and that both teams kind of started to be a little bit sloppy in terms of possession wise, and I'm not sure, maybe that's a little bit because of the fact that both teams realize that this is a playoff 6-pointer and that they don't want to just keep playing this open game before finding themselves 1-0 down and have to chase the game. But in the later part of the first half, just as we thought that this game was going to be scoreless, Vancouver gets the opening goal. And in many ways, this was a really fluke goal that the Whitecaps scored, because Miller was coming out to trying to clear this ball away before, I believe, was it Brian White, the one that was trying to get to it, and Miller had to quickly come off his lines to clear that one, and he was able to do so, but unfortunately he cleared this one right off Michael Bach. So kind of well, I wouldn't say it was a shoulder, but more like his hips there, and it basically redirect toward a goal, and Michael Bach so decided his best to trying to maybe keep that one out. He wasn't able to do so, and just like that, the Whitecaps were able to get a 1-0 lead, and that has to be such a gut punch of a goal for the Loons to concede right on the stroke of halftime. Though it won't be the only time that I would say that the Loons concede a goal that seems like a very gut punching goal for them to concede, because as we head into the second half, Veselinovic hits one high after Miller missed the punch when the ball was coming in. Tyler Miller, again, just not a good game for him in this one, and it's kind of also unsurprising that this team has not done very well ever since he has started to struggle, and that he started to kind of make some mistake. But in the 53rd minute, Reynoso did hit one straight to Crapo before the post, denying who knew chance and Minnesota chance to get the equalizer in the 61st minute. And then right after, when that ball hits the post, on the very other end, when the Whitecaps were on the attacking sequence, Brian White would score from goal and Dahomey to give the Whitecaps a 2-0 lead. So basically, just to kind of explain that situation, the Loons went from oh so close of getting the equalizer, if it wasn't for the post, of getting their way, to now on the other end conceding a goal and conceding the second goal of the game. And as soon as I saw the fact that they conceded such a gut punch kind of goal, I knew that this team was not going to win. Like, it was going that has to be very demoralized for this team to just give up a goal like that just after on the other end they hit the post. Though I will say that they did try to push one back late in this game, and eventually they did get one back. Though unfortunately it happened in the first minute of stoppage time, as Fernando Adi was able to get one back for the Loons in this game. But unfortunately, by the time he scored that goal, there was like only 2 more minutes left because there was only 3 minutes of stoppage time in this, and that kind of made it easy for the Whitecaps to easily hold on to this one to get a massive 3 points in this playoff 6-pointer against Minnesota. The shots in this one, 20 shots compared to 9 that the Whitecaps had. 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that Vancouver has. 9 shots off target for the 4 that Vancouver has. 6 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Vancouver has. And possession-wise, 42% possession compared to 58% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And also with this win, Vancouver has now moved up all the way up to 5th place in the Western Conference, which is the highest that they have ever been this season in the standings. But also with this loss, Minnesota find themselves below the red line again. And keep in mind, the team that they're chasing, that is RSL in 7th place, have a game in hand over them. And, you know, I mean, when I look at this performance itself, I know there's going to be a lot of Loons fans that's going to be blaming Adrian Heath for that. And, you know, I will say that, you know, early on what he decided to try to play a high line was not a good idea. But overall, when you look at this performance, I don't really think Adrian Heath is fully to blame in this game. And in many ways, I would say the players are fully blamed in this game, because how many times this season I've seen these players that have underachieved and had these big chances that they of course has been wasted because they weren't able to finish. And I mean, you know, I feel at the end of this year, if this team does not make it to the playoffs, this front office have some big decision to make, because when you look at these players and the fact that, you know, the front office tried their best to build a good team, and on paper this team is a good team. When you look at all these players, these are high end kind of talented player that for whatever reason just does not perform. And, you know, that's why heading into this offseason, in case if this team does not make it to the playoffs, which first of all, I think maybe Adrian Heath is going to be in big trouble, because again, I think the front office could potentially fire him if this team does not make it to the playoffs. But then besides that, what do you do with these players? Do you decide to try to keep them and hope that they can rebound heading into next year? Or do you decide to maybe make some reinforcement? And I think that's another thing that they're probably going to have to do, because when you look at this team, besides the high-end talent that they had, after that, there's really nothing out there. This is a very hollow kind of a team where they just cannot afford to have their star player down, or maybe their star player not performing, because if the star players are not performing, you don't have anybody below in the depth chart that can really step up and help out those starters that are not performing the way that they have. And again, this is just really frustrating to see how this team has gone through, and that, again, you know, their playoff hope is definitely going to be hanging in the balance. And that the only good news I will say is that at least they do have a home game in the next one, and I think that home game against Sporting KC is an absolute must win, because if we do not win that home game against Sporting KC, I think you might as well just kiss the Loons playoff hope goodbye. And that, I think, also at the end of the year, when I do that video talk about the most disappointing team this season, Minnesota is definitely going to be near the top of my list. But now moving on in terms of the next match, and speaking of teams that has had a disappointing year, well, the final nail of the coffin has finally been hit for the San Jose Earthquakes, as after this loss against the Portland Timbers, they have officially been eliminated from playoff contender. And, you know, in some way, I knew this was going to happen, and I know even with some of these Quakes fans that aren't optimistic that maybe they can finally get their first ever wins at Providence Park against the Timbers to keep their playoff hope. Maybe they still have a shot at making the playoffs. No. Their playoff hope was dead when they lost to LAFC on the road, and I might even say going all the way back when they lost to the Whitecaps on the road in that playoff 6-pointer. And again, this was a game where, you know, anytime when the Quakes play against the Timbers at Providence Park, it was an automatic L, and indeed that of course is the case. Although the killer goal that kind of ended the Quakes season is is not only going to be considered goal of the week for this week, but maybe even in contention for goal of the year for this season. But early on in the first half, Clark did deny Chofis in the 7th minute before Obowasi puts it wide from close range. I thought Jeremy Obowasi had a very good game against his former team, and you can definitely see that he was very motivated playing against his former team and looking to try to maybe get some revenge against his former team after they decided to let him go mid-season inexplicably. But the Quakes, as I mentioned, they were on the front foot early, and it looked like they were showing that desperation that they need to get all 3 points to keep their fringe playoff hopes alive. But there was a shout for a handball in the, or actually, before that, Clark did deny Obowasi it again in the 21st minute. Before there was a shout for a handball for the Timbers that was not given. But then in the 34th minute, against the run of play, Jimmy Chara was able to score from Mora and Moreno to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. But in many ways, JT should have done better. Like this one, I know it kind of took a bit of a deflection, but I feel like JT clearly should have saved that one. And I'll also mention the fact that Mark Sikowski did not have a good game whatsoever, and in many ways, both of the goals that he conceded was kind of really on him in this one. But that being said, he did kind of redeem himself a little bit in the 38th minute when he denied Mora from close range, before he denied Chara in the 39th minute as Portland was looking to try to get that second goal, knowing the fact that they now have the momentum. But we do head to halftime with the Timbers leading 1-0. Now in the 46th minute, Marcikowski had to make another save, this time denying Mora from close range. But then on the other end, Clark was able to deny Obowasi there. Again, Obowasi had tons of chances in this game, and the only reason why he wasn't able to score a goal is because his former teammate Steve Clark was making sure that, yeah, you're not going to score against your former team. We're not going to let you have some revenge against our team. But then just 1 minute after that chance, we saw what could be a contention for goal of the year, where Darren Espria just score an crazy bicycle kick, which, by the way, this bicycle kick, it kind of maybe is going to be overshadowed in terms of the fact that Mark Sikowski made a huge mistake here, where he basically spilled a shot there that he should easily catch. But take nothing away from Darren Espria, who, I said before, he is Mr. October and November for a reason, and when he is in that October and November stretch, he can definitely do crazy things. But even with that, I would never thought that he would able to do this, where he basically kind of take a touch there and just hits a bicycle kick over the head of Mark Sikowski. And like I said, this is definitely going to be in contention for goal of the year. Like, it's going to be in contention for goal of the year when SportsCenter even show this goal. But yeah, even though I was kind of frustrated of what JT made a mistake there, I also kind of had to just kind of tip my hat off to Espria, and I also just could not be upset about that. That's the way that the Quakes conceded, because it's not very often you see players score a bicycle kick, especially of how ridiculous and how much of the technical difficulty that Espria had to need to do well to score a goal. But yeah, that gives the Timbers a 2-0 lead. They could have made it 3-0 if it wasn't for Mark Sikowski denied Paredes there, but he did kind of allow a rebound there, and Paredes had a chance to follow it up, but unfortunately he whiffs that shot before Mark Sikowski was able to deny Jimmy Chara in the 74th minute. And at that point, I also kind of wrote the Quakes. They look like they just waved the white flag for the season, and I wouldn't blame them, because after that bicycle kick goal that they concede, you might as well just maybe quietly give up, and knowing the fact that you got a lot of things to change in the offseason, and I'll talk a little bit about that once I finish talking about the notes I wrote. But in the 76th minute, Mark Sikowski once again denied Jimmy Chara again, and again, don't let those fool you, the fact that, again, Mark Sikowski, I really don't think he had a good game with those 2 goals, that it was really preventable. But in the 82nd minute, Obowasi did hit it wide, and then Wando basically hits one straight to Steve Clark, and the Quakes did show some urgency in the last 10 minutes of the game, but I knew that it was too late for that. And in the end, the Timbers getting a 2-0 win against the Quakes in this one, and also snapping their 3-game losing streak. As the shots in this one, 23 shots compared to 17 that the Quakes had, 13 shots on goal compared to 5 that the Quakes had, 6 shots off target for the 4 that the Quakes had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Quakes had, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that the Timbers has in this game. But, at the end of the day, for the Quakes, now that they are eliminated from playoff contention, I think we can maybe now start to think about who is going to be staying and who is going to be leaving this team. And I just have a feeling this offseason there's going to be a lot of players on this team that is going to be leaving, especially if Almeida does get the sack this off season, because again, it's been a year. This was supposed to be a year that, after last season when the Quakes were able to make the playoffs, I was hoping maybe this might be the year that they can improve on that, but it seems like we just saw a second coming of the 2018 season. Well, I wouldn't say the second coming of the 2018 season, because at least this season was not as bad as what it is in the 2018 season, where that was also a year where the Quakes had a lot of expectation, but they just completely underachieved on it, and it just seems like it's happened again with this team. And yeah, I mean, again, this is also why I've always been so pessimistic with this team, with the way that they just this has been the way that this team has been for the past 10 years, and I really think that, I know there's going to be a new GM coming into to this team, and most likely there could also be a new coach coming into this team, and also some signings, and also the Wando era is going to officially come. Well, I wouldn't say officially, but unofficially comes to a close, because Wando still haven't announced that this is indeed his last go, but we pretty much know that this is indeed going to be his last go, and that, yeah, for this Quakes team, with all the changes that they're going to be making this offseason, the one change I really hope they eventually made is to see John Fisher no longer be the owner of this team, because as much as this team has so many problems, it has always linked with John Fisher, of the way that he just repeatedly being inept in terms of owning this team and not really caring about this team. And that, let's just hope that one day there is going to be finally a new ownership that actually care about this team and actually maybe has some ambition to make this team not being a bottom feeder year after year. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all 5 of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this review and all 5 of these games. And tomorrow, of course, I will be doing the preview in terms of the 11, or not 11 games. Wait, actually, yeah, 11 games that's going to be happening in the weekend's action. We also, I think, have one game that's going to be happening on Monday, and one game that's going to be happening on Tuesday. As I think starting on Saturday also, we're going to have 5 consecutive days where there's MLS action. So getting some last season vibe with the way that it feels like every day we at least have one MLS game. But of course, we'll be doing the preview in terms of those games tomorrow. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.